MPE.
Don't get any ant bites. Okay, here. What we're doing here is I've got a couple of San Pedros here that have been broken through various mishaps. Now, we had attempted to transplant these, but it doesn't seem like it was effective. I don't think we're going to need the rooting solution yet, because the plants they're not ready to be, the cactuses are not ready to be transplanted. You can barely see that because there's so much sun right now. Anyways, but what you got going on here is this one looks like it's about to start to rot if we're not careful here. So I'm going to go ahead and take a chunk off of that. This one just doesn't look good as far as its bottom here. We had attempted to transplant these earlier, but they didn't root. So what I'm going to do then, in order to make sure that these root, is right now I'm going to begin the process simply by...
You want me to hold the camera?
Sure. By cutting off these ends. Here, make sure you catch the knife action, cutting off the ends. We're going to cut this down to about right here. Also notice this is thin. This was winter growth, and this was from, of course, probably last fall. The growth here changes considerably. We had them indoors and under artificial light, and of course having them under artificial light just doesn't do it. You getting all that, Oscar? You're not getting it. So there's that growth that you can see there. And so what we're going to do then, in order to make sure this actually works, is I'm going to go ahead and trim it all the way up to here, where it begins to form more fully, let's say. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this through if I can. Should have used a different knife, but this one will work, the old Puma. And what we got here now is, we basically have, if we want, we have two cactuses. Here, let me see it, could you? We have basically two cactuses here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this one out to dry. This one I'm going to attempt to salvage it as well. And what we'll do is we'll eventually be using this rooting solution here. It's just, you can find pretty decent ones. This one I think I got at like Lowe's or something. Somebody like that. Anyways. So what we'll be doing then, of course, is we'll be letting these dry out. So let's go ahead and do this last one. Here, Oscar, you want to hold that while I cut this end off here? And what we'll end up with, again, is going to be a similar situation here, where we're going to have a new... And I just don't like the way this one looks. That's why I'm cutting this. I just don't like it. And this is an older chunk of the cactus. You can tell it's a lot tougher to cut through than the baby over there. You hear that? And we're in the core now. Oh, wow, look at that. Don't want to waste any of that.
Oh, look at the...
We could attempt to do that with this little guy even. I could attempt to reroot this and see if it'll grow. Again, who knows? Sometimes it doesn't work. I've got one that's still sitting here that hasn't done a thing, and it's a little teeny guy.
Oh, Woody Bill.
I'm trying to get him to root, but there hasn't been much success with that either. He was on a piece that had begun to actually rot that we had transplanted, but let me see that. As far as I can tell, everybody else that's been transplanted recently because of becoming too big has turned out pretty well. There's my avocado, and then Julieta there, and there's a hibiscus, and some more of our savila, if you prefer, or aloe vera in our San Pedros. And there's the San Pedro. Look at that beauty. Anyways, it's a gorgeous cactus. So that's primarily a lot of the creatures that we have here. Or at least my plants. So there's another creature right there. All right. So we'll be continuing this next time. In the meanwhile, we're going to leave these here. Oscar, go ahead and lay that down. And lay that down. And then we will continue this once we get a dried, like kind of a scab here. If you can see that on the bottom of this, is going to have a skin, like a scab is going to form on that moist cut area. And when that forms, that's when we actually will do the transplanting. So this might take another, let's say, 2 to 3 days. So in the meanwhile, this is where we're at. This is part 1. But I'll probably put all this together as one video on transplanting San Pedros. That's it.